Guess what? I'm back on my bullshit. I'm gonna make some borscht. What I learned from the last time I made a video about soup, the biggest thing is to decide when I'm gonna talk and when I'm not gonna talk. Because if I just talk throughout, it makes it impossible to edit or to cut stuff out. So, lesson learned. And yes, probably the most efficient way to do it would be to just do the whole thing in fast forward and then the whole thing in voiceover, but that defeats the purpose of like me acting like I have friends. Then it's just me cooking alone in my kitchen like I normally would. So I'm gonna do this. So borscht is Eastern European beet soup. Lots of countries have their own variations on borscht. It's Ukrainian, Russian, Polish, etc. There's also a lot of recipes online for borscht, which I looked at, and then I'm gonna like not really follow any of them. I have made this before, but basically, if it's beet soup, that's it. There's a billion other variations. It's pretty simple and it's pretty light. So I'm gonna use butter instead of olive oil. I might also add olive oil in later, just to give it some extra richness. It just means I'll have to watch the heat a little bit more because butter has a lower smoke point. In terms of cooking oils, I know a lot of people have very strong opinions. I think whatever's fine, as long as you watch the smoke point. Some things don't lend themselves to really high temperatures. Neither does olive oil really, but it's higher than butter. If you want to like fry something, vegetable oil or coconut oil I think also has a higher smoke point, but it also has a very distinct flavor. There's other stuff too. Using the glass keyboard today, because we're not keyboard, cutting board today. Because cooking with beets, I feel like it might stain the plastic one. So put the butter on. I didn't turn the heat up yet. I'm just gonna chop some garlic.
Chop, 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 chop.
Alright, I'm gonna throw in the garlic with the butter and turn on, turn on the heat to like a medium-ish. And then I'm gonna chop a shallot, which is what I'm using for an onion.
You get that thing where like half the onion layer is skin and half of it is usable and you're not sure whether to use it or throw it out?
Alright, put the shallots in there with the butter and the garlic. The butter's already starting to like bubble and brown a little bit, which is good. We like brown butter, but I'm already turning the heat down a little bit. Trying to pick all the onion skin out from the shallot. Yeah. Cheers. Next, I'm going to peel and chop a few carrots.
Let's see how many chunks of carrot I eat during this. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Carrots are in. If you have fresh herbs, you could add them at this stage. Just be careful, make sure they don't burn. All I have is dried herbs, and I actually don't think I'm going to use them for this because it has like the Italian seasoning blend. I feel like some of them would be good with the flavor profile of the soup and others would not. So I'm just going to omit it. Go with garlic, onion, salt, pepper, vinegar, a lot of beets. I did buy fresh dill, but I think I'm just going to use it as a garnish because I don't know, I just don't. There's already going to be vinegar. I just don't want it to taste like pickles. It's not what I want. Okay, so the next thing is the beets. Wash them and peel them. This one's a little soft. We'll see how it is when it gets chopped. It might get thrown out. All this has been in my fridge for like a week or two. I've seen recipes where you roast the beets in their peels and like then you peel and chop them. I'm just gonna do this.
Peeling the beets took a very long time. There was one that was really pretty that I tried to show the camera, but didn't really work. Did it better later.
I still can't tell if I'm going to use this. By this point, you'll have beet juice all over everything. Yes, I am wearing my I voted early bracelet until the inauguration because I am superstitious. You just never know. Gonna chop them. I've seen recipes call for like matchstick, cut them into matchsticks. I've seen one that was like grated directly over the pot, so they'd be really, really tiny. I've seen cubes. Do whatever. I'm gonna do sort of like thin rectangles, probably not quite matchsticks, but also not quite cubes. I wouldn't do rounds, like a whole diameter cross section. That's not gonna fit on a spoon. It's gonna be too big. But you know, whatever. Do whatever you want.
Chop, chop, chop.
This was the soft one, and I'm putting it in, so I guess I'm putting it in.
Chop, chop, chop. Chop, chop. Here's the pretty one.
Look how pretty this is. You can't even, well, you can kind of see it. Look how pretty that is. It's just this one.
Continue to chop. There's a lot of beets. I think I'm about to realize that the pot is too small.
This pot is maybe a little too small. It'll be okay.
More chopping, showing my bloody looking hands to the camera.
Alright, next I'm going to add my one sad lonely potato. I had more, but they got sacrificed for latkes. I'm not going to peel it, but I am going to cut off the eyes. They have baby sprouts.
Chopping one potato.
This pot is definitely too small. I'm glad I don't have more potatoes. At this point, you could add, I think, whatever root vegetables you want. If you like parsnips, if you like turnips, go for it. If you like celery root, you could probably do a sweet potato. I have a couple of those, I thought about it, but it's gonna be sweet enough from beets, and also I should have used my bigger pot, but it's okay. There's not really much more to add, besides broth and cabbage. I wouldn't get too creative beyond root vegetables though. I think mostly just because it's all gonna look and taste like beets. So I wouldn't want to do anything that like really varies much texturally from the texture of beets. Because you don't want like a slimy surprise of a mushroom or a pepper or something. That's just me. I have seen recipes that use mushrooms. I've seen recipes that use beans. I've seen recipes that use beef, like stew meat. Endless variations on borscht. We're just going to do root vegetables and cabbage. I'll be honest, when I've made this in the past, I haven't used cabbage. Just because, like, I don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of cabbage. I didn't want to use a whole one, and then I didn't know what I was going to do with, like, half of the cabbage left over. But I found this itty bitty one, and I made it even smaller. I peeled a couple leaves off, because again, it's been in my fridge for a while. So we're going to see how this turns out. Slice it pretty thinly and put it in there. This is the Savoy cabbage that's more textured, so it should be nice and soak up all the broth. I actually wasn't sure, because again, I haven't made it this way in the past, whether to add it with the aromatics, like the carrots and onions, and let it kind of sweat out and fry in the butter a little bit, or to add it now after the root vegetables. And I still don't know. I decided to do this just because I didn't want it to like sweat out and release so much water that everything else wouldn't get to like brown in there. But yeah, all the recipes I checked for reference were like, boil the cabbage and then have everything separately. I was like, no, it's not how we do things here. So I don't know. This is what I'm trying. I'm kind of debating if I should actually transfer everything to a bigger pot. I don't know, we'll see. It's never too late.
Pot too full of cabbage.
If I can just like flip it so that the cabbage is on the bottom and gets in contact with the oil and the butter, then we'll be good. And then it'll cook down and then the broth will just fill in the cracks. But if it's too full to stir, then I have a problem. I think you know what? I'm just gonna go with it. This is just what's happening. Alright. turn up the heat up there 1 second. I'm gonna give it a bit of salt. A little pepper. Wild pepper.
Stir, stir, stir.
It's too big. This thing is okay. All right. I think it's time to add liquid. This is traditionally made with beef broth, at least most of the time. I did actually buy beef broth, so I'm going to do that. But again, veggie broth would be just fine. Chicken broth would also be just fine. If you are making it with like stew meat or a beef shank or whatever, I've actually also seen a recipe with sausage in it. I think that was a Polish version. I can't even this. Then you know you can make your own beef broth with the bone, and then add that. But I'm just gonna do this.
Glug, glug, glug.
So full. Right, normally I would add water, but there's no room to add water right now. Maybe I will later. I am gonna turn up the heat. Give it a stir. It's gonna be a chunky borscht because there's not room to add any more liquid. You know what? It's gonna, whatever will be, will be. I'm gonna give it a taste. Good. Okay. Gonna leave that. I'm gonna cover it. Leave it for a little while. Is this the right lid? No. I'm gonna turn you off while I find the right lid. Leave it for a little while, and then we'll come check on it in a little bit and add more stuff. All right. Wash the dishes. Try to wipe up at least some of the beet stains. Although I'm sure I need to do it again. As you can kind of see. Maybe you can't. Last time it was on camera, you could kind of see like the difference between the carrots and the cabbage and the beets. That is slowly becoming not the case. Everything is becoming the color of beets, and will become even more so. It's good. I've taken many samples directly out of the pot with the camera off. It's currently simmering on a very low heat, mostly just so that it doesn't boil over because it's so full. I'm gonna add a little more salt. And also some sugar to bring out the sweetness.
Flash.
Of the beets. Not a 10. I don't know. If you want to measure, it's probably like a tablespoon, a teaspoon to a tablespoon. Or you can just live dangerously like I did. Yeah, it's getting there. Alright. Now that a little bit of the water has evaporated, I am going to add a little more. It'll stay on that low heat, so hopefully it won't boil over at all. Tiny bit more. It's not that I want it to be waterier or want there to be less stuff per bite. I just feel like I miscalculated. Here, I'm not gonna do this whole thing. I'm gonna do like half it. I second guessed myself. I almost used the big pot, but like, what broth is flavored liquid. So I could have had more soup if I had put this in the big pot, because the broth combined with a little water would have made more broth. So this is fine. It's just going to be concentrated and flavorful and chunky. It will have a lot of stuff per bite, which is totally fine. Cool. Heat's still down. Going to cover it. Let it do its thing for quite a while, and then check on it if it looks like it's going to boil over. All right. All in all, it's been simmering for probably about an hour, give or take. It all looks about the same. It's no longer boiling over. there's one more step. So the last step is to add some sort of vinegar or souring agent. I have apple cider vinegar. This is just what I have, so that's what I'm going to use. I've also seen white vinegar. I've seen red wine vinegar. One recipe I saw called for lemon juice. You're probably fine. Living dangerously again over the pot. A little will go a long way, but it's also, you know, to taste. I tried it for the first time the last time I made borscht, and it really works. It brightens it up a lot because beets are very sweet, but they're also very earthy. So adding a little vinegar does a good job of brightening it up. I have one more little capful. Most of the recipes I found suggested adding it like as the last step, when it's off the heat or like off the simmer. I feel like I've cooked with apple cider vinegar before. I don't think anything bad happens if you boil it, but I guess I don't really want to find out. So this is the last step, and then I'm gonna turn it off. Let me taste it one more time to make sure. I don't want to add any more. Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna turn off the heat. All right, that's it. It sat for a couple minutes with the vinegar. I'm gonna put some in a bowl. Ladle shot. Ooh, it's just gonna drip all over. It's just what's gonna happen. You must garnish with some sort of sour cream or substitute. Dairy-free is fine. If you're gonna do like yogurt or something, just make sure it's like a full-fat Greek yogurt. The soup is so light and bright that it needs some sort of like rich fat in there. Just plop it on in. Also, I brought fresh dill. This is quite a bit, but again, I didn't put it in the soup itself, so why not? Putting it in now. Trash. That's it. Finished borscht. Ignore the beet stains on the counter. That's it. Thanks for watching me make soup again. Bye.